This video has been funded in part by the Guild via Patreon. Check out the links in the description or at the end of this video for more details. Hello everybody, my name is Gildart, and welcome back to another Pros vs. Cons mini-review, the show where I present the pros and cons of my first impressions. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a release that I have been excited about ever since I saw it in an East Asia Soft showcase. Xuan Yuan's Sword Mists Beyond the Mountains is finally here on Switch and Microsoft Store, and it's thanks to East Asia Soft that I have a review code to provide this video for you. When I did the mini review of Xuan Yuan's Sword 7 back in 2021, I didn't know it would set me down a path of experiencing the multitude of Chinese RPGs that exist out there. I later reviewed Sword and Fairy Together Forever and Sword and Fairy in 2, thanks to East Asia Soft as well. And now we get to experience the third game in the Xuan Yuan Sword franchise. Mists Beyond the Mountains released on Switch and PC through the Microsoft Store on August 8th, 2023, while the original release for PC in China on December 4th, 1999. This is the first time many of us in the West get to experience this entry. I'm looking forward to jumping in not only to a new experience with the Xuan Yuan franchise, but also an older title in the series. I feel like I'm diving into a game that I've always wanted to play but never had a chance to as a kid, but I have literally no experience with this game. And maybe I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself. Don't forget to give this video a like, comment with your thoughts below, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, let's jump into Xuan Yuan's Sword Mists Beyond the Mountains. Ready, set, pros. Starting things off, I gotta say this game looks great. I love the sprite work, both outside and during combat. It's this perfect retro look that makes me feel like I'm actually being pulled back into the 90s again. I could see a game like this playing on something like the PS1 or Saturn, just crop the footage to 4:3, add some scan lines, and you're golden. Then there are the cinematics that just scream early 3D graphics. Just fucking inject my veins with this 90s nostalgia. Don't do drugs, kids. It's not just the main characters either. All the NPCs in towns and cities also feel like they've had time and care put into their designs. And don't even get me started on the monsters. I almost feel like the monsters look better than the player characters. This game does use color palette swaps for different monsters, but there's a wide enough variety that it shouldn't bother you. Speaking of monsters, the combat in this game harkens back to the good old days of turn-based JRPG goodness. You know, the era where combat was exactly what you would expect, and each game would have that little something that separated it from the crowd. You know, Legend of Dragoon had additions, Final Fantasy VIII had Junction. Well, Xuan Yuan's Sword Mists Beyond the Mountains has monsters that you can tame. And not all monsters are easily domesticated. I should know from that one time I tried to have Satan as a pet. Hey, no! Bad Lucy! Bad! Just like with Pokemon, the lower the monster's health, the more likely you'll be able to tame it. If successful, you can equip these monsters similar to accessories to increase your stats. There's also an item fusion mechanic, and the monsters you tame can be used here as well. You may, however, find that some fusion options will give you a monster that's too high level for you. This brings me back to Monster Rancher and accidentally popping a disc in that gives you a deity instead of a monster. You can also summon these monsters mid-battle by using your vitality. You may have noticed that there are 3 bars in the combat menu. The first is your health, then your spirit power, which is like your MP or mana, and then vitality. You can also increase a gauge around your character's portrait in order to unleash an ultimate move. Each character can also learn multiple ultimates with differing effects. One part of the combat that I really like is the auto battle feature. I don't know if this was included in the original 1999 release, but being able to hit L and all of your characters will just do normal attacks until there's no more monsters left makes grinding such a cinch. I would constantly grind away near healing points. As well, I'd recommend doing this whenever you come across a healing point because that usually means you're getting close to a boss. Not only is it useful to gain some extra experience and levels before you fight, but that ultimate gauge I mentioned before can be carried over between battles. So you can fill that up through random battles and open your fight against the boss with your strongest move. Think harder, not smarter. Wait. You will also come across various puzzles, whether they be environmental puzzles like switches that you need to activate in a certain order to open a door, or literal puzzles the townspeople give you in order to solve for an item. I like these because it challenges you. It's not some baby's first RPG. Go fuck yourself. Here's a math problem. Now this brings us to the story. I honestly have no idea what connects these games other than some sword and a, to my knowledge, somewhat loose connection to the Sword and Fairy series. Jumping into Xuan Yuan's Sword Mist Beyond the Mountains, I don't see a whole lot of connection with the 7th game that I've already played through. That being said, according to the Softstar fandom page, Xuan Yuan 7 is actually the 8th game in the timeline, while the events of this game are the final. And it makes sense too. Mist Beyond the Mountains will take you all over the place. You start off in Venice trying to find your way to Arabia. You play primarily as Septim, a half-Chinese, half-European knight, on a journey to find the invincible arts of war. This is under the command of the Frankish king, Pepin III. There is a lot of religious references in this game, especially with it taking place during a time where the Templars were trying to spread the word of God by force. Ah yes, where have I heard this quote-unquote way of peace brought through violence before? Anyways, as I said, we find ourselves in Venice, where the Templars have taken anyone who is not Christian and not willing to convert into custody, with plans to burn them all at the stake. Septim needs to free them because he needs to find a way to Arabia, so he breaks into the local church and frees the prisoners, but is told that not all were locked up. Some were actually just taken to the town square in order to burn in front of the crowds of people. Before leaving to save everyone though, a priest that was being held says that he wants to give Septim a gift, and he summons a smoking hot blonde succubus. It's the best Christmas gift anyone's ever got me. This demon turns out to be Nicole, a demon sent by Satan to try to recruit Septim, who, through the power of atheism, says no and he wants nothing to do with God or Satan. Nicole warns Septim that if he says no, Satan will send his army to take him out. Septim says, alright, bet, and walks away. Nicole decides to go with Septim, and there are hints that she wants to follow him instead of Satan. During the fight with the Templars, it's revealed that the leader of this group is actually an old acquaintance of Septim named Miles. Not only that, the girl Septim loves is actually in love with this guy. Nicole attacks her for standing in the way of Septim, who decides to capture the girl and take her somewhere where she can be healed. After freeing the Arabs from the Templars, one says that they are a pirate and have a ship hidden away that they can use to get to Arabia. But first, they need to find the chart that their captain had. The Templars took all the belongings to another location, so you have to go and fight your way through the Templars and Knights in order to find the chart and head out for Arabia. Unfortunately, along the way at sea, you find yourself in the middle of the Venetian army attacking the Templars for capturing and killing many of the foreign traders. In the middle of this naval skirmish, an island appears out of nowhere and everyone is landed. The Templars retreat into a castle that's on the island. Septim warns the Venetians not to go in as it may be a trap. Septim, along with Nicole, decide to investigate and find the place covered in demons. When the two make it to the top of the castle, all the Templars except Miles are dead and a priest is fighting him. The priest reveals that he's a servant of Satan and captured the girl that Septim took while no one was looking and is using her as a sacrifice. Septim and Nicole kill the priest, but it's too late. The girl dies and Miles questions his religious beliefs. Would an all-loving God truly allow this to happen to an innocent girl? Would he command them to kill the heretics, or is it the people at power commanding this? As Miles makes a grave for the girl, it is also revealed that this island belongs to Nicole, who had no idea. 3 statues representing different mythological backgrounds speak to her as master. They say that they can control the island and bring everyone to Arabia, so the journey once again starts back up. I've played a little bit more after this and actually arrived in Arabia, but as you can tell, there are a load of twists and turns that this story takes along the way. It doesn't give you everything up front either. I feel like I still have a lot to learn about Septim's past and what he's looking to gain from this journey. He serves a very Christian leader, but denounces Christianity and almost all religions. I want to know where this story is going. What other allies will I meet when I'm in Arabia? What other countries will I visit along the way? I know I am already hooked on the story, but that's all the pros I have so far. Now it's time for the wrath of the cons! I know I praise this game's visuals, but I always have something to nitpick. And with Xuan Yuan's Sword Mist Beyond the Mountains, that would be the character portraits. Why do they feel like they're straight from an early 2000s Flash game? Nicole is probably the worst offender. Like, you'll get used to it, but it really stands out when you have these beautiful backgrounds and this top-tier sprite work. Even when you get into battle, all of the sprites look good, so why are the portraits the thing that they decided not to go all in on? Then there's the fact that you're sprinting around everywhere. There is no walk button, there is no setting to turn this off. If you're playing this on the Switch, you can tilt the analog stick to jog or walk, but that gets annoying to try and traverse certain areas. Like, even switching to the D-pad doesn't help. I don't know if using a controller on PC solves this issue, but my god is this annoying. I mean, look at me, do I look like someone who wants to run anywhere, let alone run at all? Hey! Well, am I wrong? No. Then there are the puzzles that I mentioned earlier. Some of these puzzles are pretty fun and simple, like stepping on tiles in the monastery to make a song, while others are literal math problems like this woman whose husband died while she was pregnant and said, if you bear a son, he'll get 2/3 of my estate and you'll get 1/3. If you bear a daughter, she'll get 1/3 and you'll get 2. Hooray, misogyny! Well, the puzzle comes in when she reveals that she had twins, one son and one daughter, and asks you, a complete stranger, to figure out her husband's will. Well, I'm sorry, ma'am. I know you're mourning and all, but I'm fairly certain that your deceased husband wouldn't want me, and I remind you, a complete stranger, to meddle with your affairs. I mean, this game takes place during the 8th century. I don't even have access to calculators or spreadsheets in order to have machines figure this out for me. Don't do math, kids. Lastly, I need to complain about something I ran into multiple times during my playthrough. I could be getting into a good session with this game and taking my time with the story to absorb as much as I can, and then suddenly... This happened so many times that if it weren't for the autosaves, I'd be fucked. I will say there was a recent update to the game and I haven't had an opportunity to play for a long session since, so hopefully that solves this issue. But nothing pulls you out of the experience like being reminded that you're not actually on a grand adventure. No, you're a lazy sack of shit playing a video game on his couch and should probably drink more water. Hey, well, am I wrong? No. Yeah, that's right. Now be good and reload the game. In the end, Xuan Yuan's sword, Mists Beyond the Mountains, was an absolute delight. Similar to the 7th game, I just might power through the story and finish this game in no time. I honestly can't wait to get a full party going and get some answers to the questions I have around the story. I have been patiently waiting for more Xuan Yuan since I played through the 7th entry. Yes, I fully finished and completed it, popped 100% of the trophies, and even moved on to play the PS4 version. That's why it was included in the last livestream poll. I just really want to replay it. But we now finally have one of the classics in the franchise available in English officially for the first time. And with all that's been said, I give Xuan Yuan's sword, Mists Beyond the Mountains, a thumbs up. I can only hope that this leads to many more classic titles in the Xuan Yuan and Sword and Fairy series being officially localized in the West. Though this is the 3rd game in the franchise and the final game in the timeline, you can easily jump into Mists Beyond the Mountains without playing any previous Xuan Yuan title. The story is rather self-contained and can be enjoyed by itself. Like I said earlier, the visuals and combat harken back to a simpler time. I felt so much nostalgia playing this game even though I had never played it before. I grew up on so many JRPGs during the early 90s and early 2000s that a game like this being released now just hits right with me. I don't feel I had much to complain about either. Even with the math problems, you can easily figure them out if you just take your time with them. The problem with the widow who needs to split her husband's stuff, yet that was as simple as the son would get twice as much as the wife, who would get twice as much as the daughter. I focused too much on the thirds of the math problem that I didn't notice the simple solution right in front of me. Really, the biggest problem I had with the game was the crashing, which could easily be solved with a patch, and the update that came out the other day just might take care of that. I'll probably jump back into the game after I finish this review because I'll be taking the rest of the year off from uploading, which means I'll have more time to play this. I know I said this before, but I really hope this leads to more releases of the classics in this franchise. But if you're a fan of old school JRPGs, you need to check this one out. Anyways, everyone, thank you so much for watching my mini review of Xuan Yuan's Sword Mists Beyond the Mountains. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe for more. What other soft start games would you like to see get this localization treatment? Let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like to help support the channel and what I do here, you can join the guild, just like these awesome people that you're seeing on screen right now. You can join their names at the end of every single video for just $1 a month over on Patreon, or you can donate in a one-time fashion and join the volunteer unit over on Ko-fi. A special shout out goes out to my guild general Biggie Beg for supporting this channel at the top tier. There's other rewards in other tiers as well, so check out the links that you see on screen, and I will see you all down in the comments.